Ja, Leute, willkommen zu einem weiteren Visual Novel. Allerdings, ja, hatte ich eigentlich ein anderes vor, aber sei es drum. Safe Load Song. Alles klar, Background Music. Würde ich mal allgemein etwas leiser machen. So. Damit es für mich nicht so auf die Ohren geht. Back. Soundtext. Automod werde ich nicht haben. Ja, Leute. Dieses Projekt ist eigentlich basierend auf einem Anime, nämlich Grisaia no Kaijitsu, wie man dann schon am Anfang gehört hat. Auf Englisch ist der Titel so. Ja, das ist das Visual Novel davon. Ich würde sagen, from the beginning starten wir einfach mal durch. Von Sekai Project. Also World Project. Intense sunlight blazes down on the road, as if to declare the arrival of summer. The burning asphalt radiates heat, mixing with the scent of the tide from a thick, muggy atmosphere. Also wenn ich so einen Himmel mal im Sommer sehen würde hier in Deutschland, wäre das echt geil. It's way too early for this kind of weather. And when the temperature abnormally high, you're always going to get some people who lose their heads and start acting erratically. In other words, it's only natural that the police would be on the lookout for suspicious types at times like these. It was about 10 minutes ago that I realized I'd been mistaken for one of those heartstroke adult sorts. Sweat pouring from his forehead as he examines my license. The policeman in front of me takes a glance at the large backpack I'm carrying, then continues the background check. Yes. I told you, this is 10 minutes ago. I'm moving. This luggage is everything I own. Like I said, I don't have one yet. The answer's not going to change no matter how many times you ask. Mich verwirrt irgendwie das Ladezeichen unten rechts, falls das ein Ladezeichen ist oder was auch immer. Where did you come from? Where are you going? What are you planning to do there? Depending on the context, these could be fairly philosophical questions, but as far as police inquiries go, they're pretty run-of-the-mill. From their perspective, anyone wandering around without clear-cut business is by default a criminal of some sort. Let alone someone like me carrying around conspicuous, bulky luggage. It's as good as guaranteed that they'd stop me. That is their job, I suppose. Since this little scene acts as a crime deterrent through its visibility, it's not an entirely wasted effort. But unfortunately, I don't have all day to play along. Wer hat schon so viel Zeit, sich stundenlang von der Polizei aufhalten zu lassen ohne Grund? aus eigener Sicht ohne Grund. I drop a glance towards the digital watch I'm wearing around my left wrist. Sorry, but I'm keeping someone waiting. I really can't spare any more time for hanging out with bored cops. Oh. A bored police force is proof that the city's at peace. Take it as a compliment. Inexplicably taking offense at my tone, the policeman clicks his tongue in irritation and tosses my license back. Glaube nur Kleidung drin oder so ein Scheiß. Waffen aber glaube ich auch. I refuse. Natürlich, Taschenmesser. I don't really rely on blades. Policy of mine, look. Are you really telling me to unpack all this on the spot? It'll take an hour at least. 30 minutes just to take it all out, 30 minutes to stuff it back in. So langsam habe ich das Gefühl, dem ist wirklich langweilig. I just told you I don't have the time. I can't accept voluntary questioning. I know you can't just back down in this situation, but if I say I'll head over there myself later, could we wrap this up for now? As I've explained, I'm in the middle of a move. I've vacated my old place, so I don't have any address. I don't have any parents. No siblings or relatives either. They're all dead. This is going nowhere. Then at least let me call the person I'm supposed to be meeting. At this rate, they'll be waiting all day. I'm not going to tell you that. It's your mother. It's your mother. We had an appointment at a hotel tonight. Huh? I was keeping quiet out of the goodness of my heart. You dragged it out of me, so don't blame me when your parents get divorced and your happy home is shattered. What? About 30 meters away from here, we are talking someone's scream. A desperate cry follows within seconds. A woman sits collapsed on the street, stretching out her hand. Her high heels lie on the ground, knocked off her feet by the sunfall. Just about halfway between us, there's a man in a flashy Hawaiian shirt running in this direction. Natürlich! Although the thief flinches for a moment at the sight of the policeman's uniform, after a quick check for an convenient side street, he barrels onward. Immer diese Höflichkeit heutzutage. Brandishing the stone bag Menacingly, his hand violently gestures out of my way. Ja, noch mehr stottern, bitte. The cop is completely flustered. He's quite clearly unaccustomed to this sort of situation. While he's panicking, the distance between us and the thief shrinks with surprising swiftness. The man runs in a straight line towards a breakthrough to freedom. I happen to be standing directly in the middle of his path. Wie wär's mit bitte geh mir aus dem Weg? Vielleicht würde ich dann aus dem Weg gehen. As he prepares to strike with the bag, I ascertain the movement of his shoulder and arm from the first sign of motion and hit his wrist sharply just as he begins to swing. The man's arm instantly stiffens and loses all momentum. His eyes pop wide open in a shock. I immediately grab the collar of the Hawaiian shirt he's wearing and firmly draw him toward me. Before the man can offer resistance to my pull, I smoothly reverse and use my body weight to shove against him. When pushed just as they've begun to brace themselves against being pulled, anyone except a genuine expert is going to be thrown off balance. Nice shirt. Where'd you buy it? Shock spreads across the man's face as his knees buckle against his will. I try to gain a chokehold using my grip on the neck of his shirt, but the man promptly draws his head back and shifts his body to the side, preventing me from landing on a hold on his neck. Although I expected as much from the glance at his build, it seems like he's somewhat experienced in judo. But in this case, you would have been better off trying a decisive tackle. Rotating around the purse snatcher in the opposite direction of his slide, I yank his right arm upward with both hands. In one movement, I've circled to his back. Nette shirt. Next, pull back on the opponent's wrist and elbow and pin him on to the ground. This is just basic Aikido, by the way. Wie willst du das in dieser Situation bitte tun? Hey now, you've got your priorities all wrong. Before worrying about me, you should kill the guy who sold you that shirt. Perhaps unconsciously, the man's now empty right hand desperately slaps at the asphalt. While holding the thief pinned, I quickly shoot a look behind me. Don't just stand there. The policeman jerks up straight in response to my angry shout. Taking a pair of handcuffs from the pouch around his waist, he runs over to restrain the criminal. The purse snatcher seems to have resigned himself to his fate and doesn't offer any pointless resistance. He accepts his red-handed arrest for theft docilely. What? Das Wort kenne ich so nicht. Never mind. then sits quietly on the ground with his head hung as the policeman radios for backup. Apparently they weren't too far off, as the siren approaches in no time. Etwas laut, ne? Two policemen get out of the arriving cruiser and push the criminal into the backseat. As I'm quietly watching the scene in perfect passivity, the policeman from earlier runs over. Kein Problem. I'll pass you a letter of thanks, so how about letting me move on? Figured as much. Shaking my head in exasperation, I sadly rebuke myself. Should have just left it alone. As the policeman pushes at my back, a glance at my wristwatch informs me that I'm already 5 minutes late for my meeting. Ah, sehr schön. 1.6.2011. 30 minutes have passed since I was brought to the interrogation room. Familiar as the place where criminals break into flop suite in TV dramas. I'm sitting on a cheap, foldable pipe chair, my arms folded in perfect silence. Instead of responding, I close my eyes. The silent statement indicates that I have absolutely no intention of opening my mouth. The detective clicks his tongue in exasperation at my attitude. I've got a pretty fair idea of what he'll be doing next.
Wieso? Ich hab doch schon alles gesagt, was geht, Alter. Wenn ihr mich nicht glauben wollt, ist es eure Schuld.
The sound of something being struck and an even louder attempt at intimidation. This is the point where timid guy would be jumping in his seat with his eyes wide open, or maybe staring at the floor and quivering. As for me, my eyes are still shut and my arms are still folded quietly. My mind is totally blank. I've been accustomed to adults shouting at me like this since I was a child. Following the threat stage, the next step would be for him to grip my hair and jolt me back and forth. But I'm dealing with an official authority group here. I should get off without direct violence this time. No, not to say that they won't pull out the old TV cliches and harass me by shining a desk lamp in my eyes, or something of the sort. I can roughly translate the detective's sigh. God damn kids these days. I gently open my eyes in order to sneak a look at his disgusted face. The detective sitting in front of me seems to be challenging the Guinness World Record for the most dramatic asymmetry between the left and right sides of a human mouth. Or maybe he's just scowling. When I let out a snort of laughter in response to the unexpected pleasant sight, the detective scratches his head violently and glares at me. It won't gain you anything, but you won't lose anything either. Expect your time. I turn my gaze to the clock on the wall of the sweet box. An hour has already passed since the scheduled time for my meeting.
Wie viele Becher oder so hast du noch auf den Tisch, die du runterwerfen kannst?
The detective strikes the desk with excellent comic timing. The best part is the way he knocks his ashtray off the table every time he does this. His tone distinctly fed up. He stoops down to pick the plastic tray off the floor. Kazami Yuji, occupation student.
そりゃもう何度も聞いたっつんだよ。調べたよ。山梨から来たんだろ。過去の犯罪歴はなし、歩道歴も交通違反もなし、何かを表彰されるようなこともなし。ここまで綺麗な懲罰なしってのは変だろ。まるで誰かが細工したみてえに真っ白なんだよお前は。お前は一体何者なんだ。
Kazami Yuji, occupation student.
なんだそりゃ。警察に捕まったらそれしか言うなって誰かに言われてんのか。お前どっかのテロリストか。
Kazami Yuji, occupation student.
もういい。黙れ。
Ach, jetzt soll ich auf einmal die Fresse halten.
First, it's say something, now it's shut up. Talk about how to please. Our capricious detective scolds yet again and scratches his head. Flakes of dandruff drift grandly through the air. Based on his thoroughly wrinkled suit and heavy stubble, I'd say he hasn't been home in days.
なあ頼むよ。こっちの事情も考えてくれよ。
Another sigh. It's enough to make me want to heave one myself. Because we both take our work seriously. It seems like we're stuck going around in
さっきの
circles.
ひったくり事件の取り調べも進まないし、厄介なの捕まえたよまったく。
Just as we roughly complete this exchange of one-sided bitterness and mutual glaring, there's a well-timed knock at the door, and the sound of it being unlocked.
Und Leute, wer jetzt reinkommt und was los ist, sehen wir dann im nächsten Part. Ich weiß nicht, ob ihr jetzt schon einen Einblick in die Art dieses Visual Novels habt. Auf jeden Fall kann ich den Anime nur wärmstens empfehlen. Er hat sehr viel Humor. Wie ich finde, ich sag bis zum nächsten Mal. Bis dann, viel Spaß und tschüss.